Hi, everyone. As you're joining in, I just make sure that you are on mute and that your view is in speaker view. Hopefully it's already there. We're gonna get started in just a second. We'll be starting super soon, getting ready, and we'll be off. Thank you all for joining us today. We're just gonna wait one more minute and then we'll be ready to go. All right, and then just a little note as well, to get this picture maybe larger than you already have it, if you just go to the top of your screen and click speaker view, it might be in gallery view as it stands right now. So if you just want to hit that, it'll go to speaker view and then your screen will be larger. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to share my screen. There might be more people popping on as we go, and I'll just go ahead and admit them and we'll be right on our way. All right. Perfect. So as I said, thank you all for joining us for our second session of Write Your Life. We had such amazing feedback for our first session. We were so happy that people could join us. Our first session went really well, so thank you again for all of your support. We have been getting a couple questions about, is this a free program? And this is a community service program. So Kevin and I are donating our time. This is a gift to you all. If you do feel like you want to donate, there is a link to the Order of Malta Knights Run, which is what this community service program is benefiting. So that is where all the proceeds would go. But again, this is our gift to you. So just if you want to, then that's available. But this is a free writing sessions. So just wanted to share that with you all. Just a little bit of more background, if maybe my face is a new face to you. We always encourage that you join our sessions whenever you can. If you maybe miss a session, we have all of our recordings on our YouTube page, and that link can be found in our Facebook event page. So maybe you missed a session, or maybe your friends have missed a session. They can always go and watch it on that YouTube page. But of course, if you just want to join us at any point, we love to have you all here. So feel free to join whenever you can. Just a little bit of background on me. My name is Emma Campbell. Many of you probably already know that, but for those of you who don't, wanted to give you a little bit of background. I was born and raised in Minnesota. I went to school at Western Washington University, where I majored in communications and then did a little bit of theater on the side. And throughout all of that, I had a really big passion in writing. And that kind of led me to my internship at Be Creative, where I met Kevin, and this writing session was kind of born. I've had a really fun time so far with doing these writing sessions, as I hope you all are as well. And I kind of wanted to share a little bit, I hope that's okay, about my 20 minutes experience, which I've been doing this past week. It's been really cool. I sat down to write the other day and was kind of having a little hard time figuring out what I wanted to write about. And so I decided I kind of just wanted to write about my time in Minnesota, because it's getting to summer and I have been feeling pretty nostalgic about, kind of the hot, humid summers in Minnesota. So I just put pen to paper and started writing about that. And it was crazy because it unlocked so many memories that I had completely forgotten about as a child. And it was really cool to really kind of, remember that time when my brothers and sisters were catching fireflies. As cheesy as that sound, it happened. We also pretended we were playing with fire with sticks. So it wasn't all cheesy. I think I got a scar to prove it. But it was such a great experience writing that down and remembering it. So I hope you all had an experience like that as well, and continue to do so over this course. Of course, Kevin Flanagan is joining us today. He's leading all of these workshops, and I'm so incredibly thankful to have Kevin here with us. He is a 2-time best-selling author, and has done work with an award-winning documentary, which is in support of Order of Malta and the Knights Run itself. He also has a really unique background with a professional dance career, as well as an active actor as well. So I'm really excited to have him here and all of his writing knowledge. He has a weekly column in the Independent Travel, so it's really cool to get some of these learning tips from his 30 plus years of experience. So Kev, without further ado, let's go on to session 2. Thank you so much for being here.
If it wasn't for Emma, I wouldn't be able to run this. So it's particularly brilliant, and it's great to have her here. And I thought I've been in touch with a number of people who started last week, and most people are writing. And that goes all the way through to the likes of Ben Murnane, who's a very established writer, and who actually said it had sort of triggered him, to revisit a couple of things. So that really is gold to my ear. As I said, this is a community outreach program. We're volunteering our time here, and any money that you wish to give, send it to the Dublin Homeless Knights Run, of which I'm a volunteer as well. But hearing that coming back was the very best. And so I thought what we do, there's a couple of new people coming along this week. And I wanted to just give a recap, both to ourselves and so everybody can catch up with what. So, because this week's going to be an important week, and I'm going to try to spend most of it letting over the next 6 weeks. And the lockdown is going to start breaking up, as we've heard in Ireland tonight anyway, and over the next 6 weeks, we'll probably get back to more normality in 6 weeks' time. So you still have this opportunity, this golden opportunity to use this time of reflection, and what better way than to write. So let's just have a quick recap. Now, the first part of the first slide in the recap is really expressing what is expressive writing. Expressive writing is data-based. It's scientifically proven to be really good for you, for your mental, emotional, and physical health. And it just, the very act of going inside and pulling a few things out and putting them down on the page has a profound benefit. It's a bit like running or eating well. So the science says it's a really smart rule to sit down for 20 minutes is what I've been suggesting, and do that every day, or nearly every day. So what is the next slide going to show us? How do I write expressively? Well, you don't need a college degree. Isn't that great news? Writing can sometimes be regarded as being a little bit, sort of intellectual. Expressive writing, as long as you can pick up something as simple as this and write down, you're in the game. And you don't need any other experience. Isn't that fantastic? Particularly when most people think, oh, writing is way beyond me. And just look at the next slide. Now, here are some of the ways that we're going to talk about later, but I'm going to give you a recap. And this is what I would suggest you use over the next 6 weeks, and start creating habits. And one thing you could do is to do a journal. Here's my journal. Every day I go into it and write, and I'll go over that a little bit now. And it's very easy. The great thing about a journal is some of the ideas that we're going to talk about, letter writing, all the various different formats you could take, you can put in your journal. So I think it's a great catch-all. And the next slide has a little bit about my journal. There you can see a page out of it. And it's very useful. Each day I start off, I write down, as a professional writer, I log in, I'm writing a new novel. I log in at a certain time and I log out. I try to make it like a factory worker. This is my job. I have to take it seriously. So that goes in. I do a drawing by hand because it helps to get me from the night, dreaming, getting up, feeling all that you feel during the day, and just starting to focus in. I write down a couple of things I've been grateful for yesterday, usually to do with taking a walk with the grandchildren and enjoying this incredible weather Dublin's having, and peace, no cars. Listen, not a car on a Friday night. Isn't that incredible? And then as a writer, I would also strongly recommend you try music. Music can trigger you. If you feel a bit distance, one of your favorite songs from childhood, that could trigger a whole different set of memories. What your mother loved, or what your partner loved, or what your children loved. Music is powerful. Now, a letter is another thing that you may choose as one of your go-to writing actions. And again, as I say, we're going to talk to all of you now after I finish this particular little introduction and little session. But a letter could be one of the ways you pick, and you can write a letter in the journal. The great things about writing a letter is it could be to someone who you've neglected, someone who neglected you, someone who's passed away, someone who's hurt you, someone you've hurt. And the other great thing is just putting that down on paper can make a difference. You don't have to send it, and you don't have to show it to someone else. Isn't that fantastic news? A gratitude diary is, I think, something that is well proven now. There's huge research on gratitude. That if you, one of the participants last week who has started to do this, and she was shocked about how it changed slightly her axis, because I think she'd become quite stressed, as she admitted, during this coronavirus, and then suddenly to actually remember that, oh, this went well and this thing happened well, and did make a huge difference. So it is, what we're talking about here is not airy-fairy. It's not, oh yes, it's a great idea. This is as important as brushing your teeth, as dental hygiene, as physical health, as eating well. This is, this is feeding your spirit, if you like. And that's not being too grandiose saying that. And I love the idea of drawing, doodling. There's a whole science to doodling and how that allows a different part of the brain to come out. So don't be afraid to doodle in your journal. My gratitude, I never write down what I'm grateful for. I always do a little picture of it. So here's a blossom when I took the kids to St. Anne's in Clontarf, and the blossom's coming out. It's a fantastic time of the year. And it captures it very well. So don't be afraid to doodle. This is for you. Nobody's going to see this. It's not a school textbook. It's for you. And another really important element, there's a lot of research to show that if you put down your goals for the future, it really isn't the first step in realizing them, just as if you put down the plot of a novel, as I'll talk about in a minute. And I think that's really important. It's this action of taking it from here and making it concrete on a page. And now we have these 6 weeks more, which will have made it nearly 3 months of time when everything's sort of turned off. And people have always said, if I could only write, I just don't have the time. Well, now that's what we have. So if we can build this habit over the next 6 weeks together as our community, our small community, helping each other. And myself and I are here to help. And I've gained this week. Now, when it comes to the novel or a screenplay, another great idea is, you hear it said, I have this great idea for a story. So if you write it down and you actually see it, then you may start to see whether it is such a great idea. It may, and you show it to a friend. So it's also a test of truth using this. So I'd strongly recommend do your treatment. For this novel I'm writing at the moment, I'm spending weeks doing the treatment, maybe too long, but I'm going to have it all done. Here are all the bits and pieces on my bed in the front room with all the maps about the different characters, and so it really stress tests it and shows you where you're going. And next we come on to an old pet peeve of mine. Writing, all the studies show that using the hand to write cursively. And cursive writing is this sort of writing. It's joined up writing. You can see that proper writing, not printed. That is very powerful, and you access different parts of the brain, and it really is. So I'd strongly recommend, you don't get the same effect just using keys on a computer pad. So try that. In many ways, the pen is mightier than the Mac, as I would like to say, and that it's powerful to start writing and using your hand, a pen, and a piece of paper. Simple. And this is the big one. And so many of you got back to me during the week. It was funny. Like, you know, they say, oh, that 20 minutes was so useful. And that's all we're asking you to do for these 6 weeks. We're recommending you do. Find 20 minutes a day. You can have one day off a week, but I would really try to stick to a minimum of 6 days a week. 20 minutes, you don't move from your desk. And that's the studies all show. You have to give your brain like 5 minutes to just get out of the busyness and to get down to this. So you have to sit there and as this next slide shows, we have a lot of distractions, and you have to, if you don't take on the distractions before you move in for your 20 minutes, you've lost the battle, sadly. Because once you click into Facebook, or once you even hear a notification from the phone, your brain is occupied. It appeals to the same part of the brain as a crying baby. So you don't ignore a crying baby. The people who make smartphones and Facebook, they're very clever. The best brains in the world, they know how to grab you and pull you in. So turn off your phone. It's 20 minutes. Tell somebody, if there's a fellow person in the house, I need my 20 minutes now. You will be amazed what comes in that 20 minutes, but you have to allow it. It's like allowing the plant to get fresh air and sunshine. And as we say, if you write, if you write, you taste life twice, in the moment and in retrospect, or as Natalia Goldberg said, writers live twice. But you must have some writing. You can't edit a blank page. You have to turn on the faucet. And this week, we're going to talk about the thing that could stop you writing. And it's a really powerful thing. So we're going to spend maybe 10 minutes on this. You need a pen and paper. And I think this is going to be possibly a critical exercise. And it was talking to my really good focusing friend and companion, one of my oldest friends, Phil. We were talking about the inner critic, and she really triggered me to examine what was happening in my own writing life. And this is the results. And hopefully we'll talk to Phil live as well tonight. So there's a hidden monster waiting to pounce for anybody who sits down for 20 minutes to write. What is that monster? Well, as the next slide will show you, it is the critic. Who is this inner critic? Well, it's that little voice that gets at you when you start anything new, when you try to change jobs, or when you go to buy a bigger house, or change a relationship. You know, it could be that. It's usually a teacher, possibly a school bully. Now, this is where it gets heavy. What does your inner critic say to you? Now, we're so used to hearing it that we just don't even know that we're being self-critical. So there's this fantastic writing exercise, which we're going to try. So get your sheet of paper. Remember, nobody's going to see this, only yourself. This is for yourself. It's to actually put down what the critic says to you most of the time. We're going to spend, as I say, a few minutes now giving you a chance to fill in a couple of the words. You won't get it all done. But you can come back to this exercise. But I wanted to take your hand and take you through this step by step. And I think it will really, really make a difference. It made a huge difference to me after this conversation I had with Phil. And I think this will help. And hopefully it will help you as well. So you take your dominant hand, your right hand, and you draw a circle. If we go back to the previous slide, actually, for a moment, you will see that there's a mind map in the middle. You see that green circle? Forget about the post-its. You don't actually need it for this exercise, but you see these got a green circle, sort of a circle. That's a mind map. So draw a small circle in the middle of your page and put in my inner critic in it. And you see those little arrows shooting off. Those are going to be the 3 or 4 points. You only need 2 or 3 points of what you hear from this critical voice. That's all we need for this exercise today. So we will now go on to the second slide. And I want you to take the hand you usually write with, and on the first arrow, the arrow going up, just write down one of the things that you often hear. It may take a moment for you to actually just tune into this, so do take your time. We're going to give you the time for this because it's so important, in my opinion. You know, they're pretty basic, the things people say, whisper to themselves. You're stupid, you're fat, you'll never get anywhere. Why do you it's that sort of a... Now, I want you to reference this as to the writing, because a couple of people, I talked to most people over the phone during the week who participated in the first thing, and they all talked about how there was a resistance, and the resistance came from the inner critic mainly. It's something like, well, you know, I never, typically it would be something like, I never thought, I'm not really a writer. Writers are for people who went to university, writers for intellectuals. I mean, who do I think I am? This is a bit sort of poncy, this is a bit intellectual. And you see, that's the sort of thing, what do my friends say? That's the inner critic. So if you can just identify that voice and just put down as the first one, you know, what did you hear inside? And this becomes very active when you actually go to sit down and write. Let's say you pick 6 p.m. in the evening for your 20 minutes. In the half an hour before, in the 10 minutes, in the 5 minutes, in the 5 seconds, as you sit down, you'll get that, you're wasting your time. What are you doing here? It's a program on TV. You should give so-and-so a call. That's the inner critic. So again, take a moment to put down what you hear, and put down 2 or 3 points is all you need to put down in this hand. Now, just take a moment, you're all on mute, so just read them back to yourself and just feel what happens in the body brain when you hear this inner bully, this inner critic telling you you're no good. You can't do that. Just take a moment just to notice what that does to your peace of mind. It's not generous, this voice usually, it's not kind, and it's not trusting. So really take a moment, and this can be a powerful exercise. And again, you know, give yourself some time to really touch this, and you'll see the reason and the logic of this in a couple of minutes. Okay, I think, again, you know, we'll move on so we can get through the stuff tonight, but you can come back to that. Now, the big thing is take the hand you usually write and put it in your eye. The first one is, I'm not cut out. Writing is for intellectuals, or I'm being pretentious. You put down, really think about that now. Am I being pretentious? So, for example, the thought process on this could go, well, actually, I'm trying to do this because I've been caught on this particular painful subject, and you know, I'm not dealing with it, or I'm drinking too much, or I'm just avoiding it. So I'm doing this course to help my mental health, not to be pretentious. Okay, so that's the truth. And write down, it will look awful, it'll look like a squashed spider, but just write down the real reason why you're doing this course, or whatever it is to the first critic. Take a moment and go through the 1 or 2 points that you've put down of that inner critic. And again, this is an exercise we will do as we go through the 6 weeks, because the more you get to know your inner critic, the more you actually befriend it, the easier it will become. So just try to put down a couple of truths. The truth about why, or the truth about, am I really stupid? Far from it. In most cases, we're incredibly rich and intelligent beings, and very well motivated and quite kind. But the voice won't be kind. And then we go on, and now just take a moment to read back the counter argument to what the critic said. Just take a moment, and again, we're just giving you a taste. We're just getting a little flavor of this. And as you hear it back, what you say to yourself, just hear it and go, wow, that wasn't really true. Now, while you do that, and it's powerful, I'm just going to go through, I'm going to share with you what I had the other day, because it was on a Wednesday. It's actually on the next one. It was last Wednesday, and I had my 10 o'clock start-off time. This new work. And as 10 o'clock came, I just felt myself getting heavy, and I started to feel apprehensive. And these were some of the voices. So I went in, I got my journal, and it's there on the page, which I haven't, there it is. It's a bit difficult to read, so I wrote it out again on a white sheet of paper, and I'll take you through each point. And before I do this, this is what came out. And this is a professional writer of 30 years experience who's written 2 bestsellers, hundreds and hundreds of articles, and has a weekly column with 900,000 readers. So I still suffered this when it came to my writing. First one was, I can't do this. And then, no one will be interested. This is what was going on in my head. They're all better qualified. I'm not Dan Brown, for heaven's sake. What's the point? And as I got even nearer to the room, I'm going to get down, changed pens, got a different color, and I just really tried to get the truth on that. Can't do this. Well, my track record in writing is such that I know that's not true. I will deliver, a column in 20 minutes. And I'll be able to do that. And I've never actually failed on delivering copy over the 30 years, never been late. So that's actually not true. You can't do this. It's not true, that voice. No one is interested. Well, even this week, as I listened to this voice, so many people got back with so many kind things about what we covered last week. So that's, many people are interested actually in what I'm doing. They're all better qualified. Then I look at, the amount of different sorts of writing I've done, from being a travel editor to being a food and wine critic to being a writer of self-help books to being a writer of psychological books, a couple of novels. I'm qualified as a senior editor with a national newspaper. So not many people actually have that experience. And that is, again, it's just not true. I'll never get through this. Well, I look at the years of experience, and after a few moments, I suddenly thought, well, I always get through one way or another. It may not be what I wanted it to be at the high level, but I do get through. And finally, what's the point? Well, even just doing this, it's so fantastic to get the feedback. So it's great to write and do this. So that was really what I wanted to share. And as we look at the next slide, you look out for all of these things. But, it's really interesting. If you look at, we say these things to ourselves, but if you were at work, would you ever tell anybody, would you tell a colleague they're too old, or a work colleague they're not qualified, or they look stupid, or they sound stupid? If you did, you'd be fired. But we'll say this to our... That's why it's so important to be conscious of this. And the next slide. It really is interesting to know that the critic probably came to protect us. And it's just outgrown its use. When we were young and maybe we were bullied in some way, then it shut us off and it said, no, don't reach out, don't show yourself to be too clever, or don't show yourself to be too smart, because you get hit, you get this. So it's really there originally to protect us. It's just lost its place in our lives. And the next. And lovely saying here, what if your inner critic turned out not to be an evil, bullying force that needs to be conquered, but a frightened child needing your reassurance? And the next one. So how do we best go about disarming or integrating? Remember, the opposite of integrate is disintegrate. So a lot of us are fighting disintegration. To integrate is the way forward. So to understand why it's there, you can't eliminate it or assassinate it, the research shows. it's best to engage with it. And one of the best ways is to write about it, and we've just done this fantastic exercise. So I'll leave that with you as a fantastic exercise, which I think, particularly having spoken to so many of you struggling in the first week with this inferiority complex. I'm not a writer. And that is a voice that you need to call out, and you need to actually say, okay, well, what's behind this? And if you do those exercises and you do them on a weekly basis, I think you'll find great relief. So let's move on. Yes, as we say, write about your critic, and yes, I think we can move on from that slide as well. And now let's go back to what we had. So we've done half an hour on introductions and covering these points, and now I want to turn it over to you. And this is where it really is important. What do you want to choose for your own method? Now remember, this is not set in stone. You can change your mind day for the next 5-6 weeks. That could be a journal or a gratitude diary, a letter, a memory, a story, or something else. And what I'm going to do is open the floor now and give you as much feedback and advice as possible. And there was some fantastic, it's really a continuation of the phone calls I was making with several of the participants during the week, just finding out how they were getting along. And I think it will really, I'm calling on the collective wisdom here, because, there's a good number of us and we all have varying degrees of experience with life. And I'd love to hear, what your questions about where I should go with this. So please, put up your hand. We have a whole list of people who want to ask questions. And then if you have points to make, we'll bring you on as well. We're supposed to finish at 9. We can be a little bit lax with that. So let's dive into it straight away.
Yeah, thank you, Kev. Like Kev was saying, we have a whole list of people that have questions already, which is awesome. But if you do have a question, want to interact with Kev, please feel free to just type your name into the comment section and we will get you up here. So I'm just going to stop sharing so we can all see each other on the screen. And I believe Ben, if you're here, has the first question. Ben, if you just wanted to unmute and come on. Let's see if you're here. Yes.
Hi, Emma. Hiya, Kev.
Hi, Ben.
Hey, so
how's life down the country?
Not too bad. It's a nice day here today, so just got back from a walk, which was nice to get out after a day in front of the laptop and then open the laptop again. So yeah, I wanted to ask you, Kev, because we were chatting during the week as well, and
put on your video because it's good to see people. It's entirely your choice. I see Niles in San Francisco. He's moved over from Mauritius. So it's up to you, but it's great to see real places, real people. And it's great to just get that energy, Okay, so keep going. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Kev. As I think I said to you before, the internet down here in Port Law won't deal with video. So yeah. As long as you can hear me.
Yes, no, we can hear you well. We can hear you well.
Cool. Yeah, we were chatting during the week, and one thing I find hard, so this course is obviously Write Your Life, and as you know, I'm a writer in my day job as well, and an editor. Work for a company that produces magazines on moving overseas, and I suppose I've been finding it hard to find the time to maybe think about more personal topics. And I'm just wondering if you find it hard as well, or how do you deal with, like, it can be quite emotionally draining maybe to try and think about some memories that you wanted to write about, or something in your past maybe that you'd like to write a story about, but it can actually be emotional to think about it, even for 20 minutes, just sitting down there. And I'm wondering if you have strategies or ways to try and help with that.
Well, I think that's a very profound question, because what we're dealing with here is something that can be, when you do expressive writing, you're really getting in touch with things that you probably have been suppressing in one way or another, or not finding the time to deal with, And I think the benefit is, it's a bit like dreaming. The science on dreaming is really clear, and there's some really good science on it. There's a lot of ooby-booby stuff on dreaming, but the real hard stuff on dreaming is as follows: that if you are dreaming, what dreams do is they give you material that you cannot face during the day, to somehow interact with this material, this issue, but you're not doing it during the day, so it presents you with it in a dream at night. And what I think that shows is that your body's wisdom, and it goes back to the Bible, how wise dreams are and how wise we are. But this is this part of ourselves, our psyche. So think of again about, it's useful to think of the head brain and the body brain. And we live so much up here, with social media and everything else is all so, crammed in, that if you can, but your overall psyche, your soul, knows what you need, so it will present it in dreams. And in the same way, there's often this thought that, you have to be very careful what you go to, because if you go here, you're going to, disintegrate. Well, I think, if you allow your instincts, obviously if, there are mental health issues, then you need professional help. Before you do exercise, you need to be checked out by a doctor that you're not going to damage yourself. And in the same way, if there is issues in your life that are you need help, need intervention, then naturally that is the course one needs to go. I've experienced that and had, and I've availed of help when I've needed it, and I think that goes. It's important to say that. But the other thing that's important to say is that in the same way that your body will give you dreams when you're distressed, so when you sit down to write, if you allow this wonderful 20 minutes to unfold, and you can resist all the addictive interruptions that we become so used to, your body will guide you, and it will give you the story, and it will give you something. And I guarantee you this, and I'm so excited to share the next 5-6 weeks with you, because I think what you'll find is you'll be excited what comes. And furthermore, you'll be surprised what comes, because you haven't connected with it yet.
Yeah, I think that's, it sounds great. That's what I'm looking forward to doing, hopefully.
Okay, what format do you think you'd like to go? And have you any, what format would you like to go down? And have you anything for, the rest of the participants tonight as to, what would be useful for them to test, particularly those who aren't, professional writers, or this is something new?
Yeah, well, I mean, because I'd like to write a personal story, I think a journal is a good format, and you can write then every day, like you say, maybe about a dream, maybe about a memory that's particularly strong in your head that day. And so, yeah, what I'd like to write about, we were talking about this during the week, Kev. My wife and I met in Canada. The two of us meeting because of this illness that only 2 people in a million have, and to find another person who has it, and that kind of connection. So I've wanted to tell that story for a long time, but haven't had the time or the commitment to go back into those memories. So I think a journal might be a good way to start with that. And what I was going to do as well is, because this is something that happened overseas, in Canada where we met, that it's actually quite a nice travel memory as well. So I was going to write a short little piece to send to you, because I know you're taking readers' submissions for your column at the moment of precious memories. So I thought this might be a way to start thinking about that memory again.
Absolutely. And Ben has a fantastic book. Tell them a bit about your book, just briefly, so people can get it online if they're interested.
Sorry, Kev, my internet, I think, is breaking down a bit. I think you mentioned about my book. Yeah, 2 in a Million is the name of the book.
And it's a fantastic memoir about Ben going through his illness. And you see, that's so true, isn't it? That's so true. Look at that. You know, even hearing Ben discuss that, he wants to talk about how he met his wife, who I've met as well. And that incredible relationship where they both shouldn't possibly still be around, you know. I hope you don't mind, you know, and I think when you read the book, you'll know that. You don't have it's incredible. So, you know, look at the incredible stories that are there. All you need to do is just express them, because every single person on this call tonight has an incredible story. You may not just know it yet, or you may not believe, because of the critic, that you know it. And so I would say absolutely. And Ben's right. You know, I do publish every week with taking, you know, special memories. So if anybody wants to, you know, you may not want to do it this week or next week or the week after, but when you've come back to having a really good memory of, you know, a travel memory, send it in to me. We'll talk about that, and maybe we can, you know, give you the opportunity to express that memory. That would be a great exercise. And you know, and you'd actually have it published. But look, that's not, you know, that's only one issue. The real issue is, you know, what you're saying there, which is talk about something that's very precious to you, which is how you met your wife, who also has this rare 2 in a million disease, and you got together. What an incredible story is there. So thanks for sharing. Anything else you wanted to share with anybody there, Ben?
No, thanks for listening, Kev. I dropped out in the middle of that, but I think hopefully everybody got everything.
Yeah, great. Well, listen, Ben, thanks. And I look forward to hearing that story.
Thanks, Kev. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. Again, if you have questions for Kev or just want to, you know, have some ideas or any comments, feel free to just type your name into the chat and then come on screen with Kev. And Kev, I actually had a question for you that I was hoping, I hope you don't mind if I take up a little bit of time, but I mentioned a little bit earlier in this session that I was writing about, you know, my time in Minnesota and how all these memories came back to me, but I struggled with creating like the imagery and feel that I wanted. And I remember when I was reading your book, Born to Dance, one of the things that struck me the most is that you wrote with such imagery, and it was like I was in the scene with you. But my writing right now, I feel like I can't get all of those sensory details across that you did in Born to Dance. So I was wondering if you had any tips on how to do that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think this would apply to everybody here is on here tonight. So it's probably worth making a note of that. When you're describing something, I see that Niall there is in San Francisco, and hopefully we're going to chat. Hopefully I'm going to get a quick word with most of you on tonight and just get your so what we'll do is we'll sort of fast track it a bit so everybody can get their bit in. But what I would suggest to Emma and everybody else is use the 5 senses. So when you imagine, so if Niall's looking at this, he's going to walk across the Golden Gate Bridge. What does he feel physically? The wind buffeting. What does he smell in the air? The traffic fumes, the diesel, plus the fresh air. What does he hear? The cry of seagulls, plus the motorboat going underneath, and the roar, the distant roar of the surf. What does he taste? Maybe he's just had an ice cream. Maybe he's having a cigarette. You know, whatever it is. And then what does he see? You know, the glint, the glare, the red fire engines, the stanchions of the bridge. Once you use the 5 senses, you can really elevate, you know, what you're discussing. And it's really simple. Whatever it is, if you're, let's say you're doing a letter to your mum, or you're describing your mum, what do you see when you think about your mum? We've all had mums, so we can all do this. What do you feel? Does your hair move on your, or is there a sinking feeling, or whatever it is? What do you taste? What do you smell? What do you see? And they will help you. So you always have that just jotted down at the side of your notebook. And I think that will help.
Amazing. Thank you. That actually helps a lot. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. All right. So for anybody who wants to come on and talk with Kevin, please feel free.
I think Claire's next. Didn't she say she was there?
Yeah, Claire, if you want to come on and have a quick chat with Kev, you feel free to unmute and start your video up.
Hi.
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 Hi, Claire.
Kevin? Okay, so for which one to choose. So the first one was a story, and the second one was an article, but I'm a bit stuck on which one to go for.
Okay.
Obviously, I want to go for the one I feel more connected with. But I'm just, how do you decide which is the best? Is it the one you connect with more, or is it the one you think will? So I think that's my question.
Right. Well, I think you probably know the answer to that. What do you think is the answer to your question?
I think deep down, I feel would be the story, which I feel more connected to at the moment.
Okay. Okay. And just give us a flavour, just one sentence on what that story is. If you feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah, it's to do with something that's helped me a lot recently, which is all to do with nature, and it's got me through a lot. And I think I just want to write about nature, gardening.
Do you want to just share with people about that new job you get? Otherwise, it's a bit vague.
Okay, yeah, sure. I started a new job in gardening, and it's a new career. So I'm working in a garden centre at the moment, and I'm also doing a course in horticulture. And it's been a new experience the last, not quite a year, but it has changed a lot for me personally. And I just
for the better, or how has it changed it for you? For positively?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Just feeling more connected to everything, and being more grateful for what we got, and it also calms the mind.
Okay, now that's very interesting, because when you say that, you know, the effect that this new job you have as calming your mind, I immediately get a sense of, oh yeah, I'd like to hear more about that. Everybody would like experience that's true. That's the effect it has. It helps people to hear, in the same way as, you know, hearing how somebody has a terrible life, like the memoirs of someone who's been in a war camp, helps people to appreciate how good life is for them. So do you think you have the answer? I think you have the answer. Do you think you have the answer now?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, and I think that's what I think I'd like to write.
Okay,
yeah.
so is that going to be a journey? Just give us a thought before we finish. What's the format you think you're going to concentrate on for the next 6 weeks?
Maybe a journal would be actually quite good. I didn't think about it, but maybe that would be a good thing, because it's something so important in my life that maybe that could be a good thing to do.
Isn't that brilliant that you can actually, you know, now you've got something. And then remember, guys, once you've picked your thing, it's only for 6 weeks. You can change in that period of time. It's just to kickstart the process. That's the critical thing. So thank you, Claire, for that. I think, are you happy with that now? You can move on?
Yes. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we ask Niall to just to join us for a moment and to unmute, and maybe you could just share, Niall, your experience so far.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. You can. Hello. What would you like to hear?
Well, where do you feel? I know you know we chatted, and you know this is something reasonably new. So maybe just share a little bit with everybody else, and just see, you know, what your thoughts were moving forward.
Well, I suppose the first thing is that most of you are probably here on this course because you like writing or you want to write, whereas I'm on this course because I absolutely hate writing, and it's because it's something that I have to do now recently, so I have to get better at it. So that's why I'm doing this. So that'd be the first point.
Yes, and
well, I saw, because I'm going back to third level education, and severely dyslexic, and I had a lot of trouble in school trying to do reading and writing and all that kind of stuff. But then that's the reason why I never went to third level education. But now that I've gone back, I'm just kind of like facing me fear kind of thing. But the writing is definitely my Achilles heel, like, so that's why I have to get better at it.
But isn't that a fantastic story? You know, that really excites me to hear that, because if this can work with Niall, who faces perhaps the ultimate problem, you know, if you want to write, which is dyslexia, isn't that fantastic? So what do you think? Have you got any sort of ideas from what we've been discussing over just a couple of weeks now?
Like what I'm gonna do?
Yes.
What I would write down. Well, I thought the college year just finished now, so it's the end of the first year. So I thought I was gonna have a break until September, but clearly I'm gonna have to do. I don't really know. Maybe talking about, I suppose, in the last year, maybe, I suppose, because that's different, you know, maybe something like that.
And have you had any, you know, from what we've been discussing, has it helped sort of in any way to help you with that fear of writing?
Well, like I said to you during the week, I mean, it's something that I kind of, you know, obviously knew in my head as well, that to get better at anything, you're just going to have to do more of it as well. But it's about kind of, you know, kind of doing it smartly as well, not just, you know, just doing anything randomly. So that's why I'm trusting in you, because we're good friends, and I know you're a good writer. So it's kind of like the reason you came to me, to learn how to box.
Yes.
So like Kevin had a type of dyslexia with boxing, and I was able to bring him along. So he's returning the favor now.
Yeah, we'll have words about that later. Okay, so that's brilliant. So have you any idea of is it going to be any idea of the format before we finish our short interaction?
Not yet, no.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that, but I think it's great, and you know, we're all here to support you, and we will support you over the 6 weeks, and you'll have written something. Wouldn't it be great if you could get your story in the Sunday Independent by the end?
Oh, I don't know if it'll be allowed in the paper.
Well, we don't. We can always edit that.
I'll have to do a censored version.
Well, listen, you. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being so courageous. So, bravo.
Okay, thank you.
How about Anne? I know Anne is having to go soon. Do you wanted to say anything? Anne's in New York in lockdown, so it's very exciting to have her here. And she has to talk to Warren Buffett or somebody very powerful at 9 o'clock. So before she goes, I thought I'd give her a chance if she wants to unmute herself. And Anne's never had any problem unmuting herself, so off you go.
Thanks, Kay. Hi, everybody. I think I have the digital equivalent of the dog ate my homework because my computer crashed. So I'm sorry, that's been so kind of top of mind. But, you know, I have to say, I really appreciated what was said about dreams. I've been having, I don't know if anyone else hears, I've been having the most lucid, vivid dreams. I happen to be sort of in the epicenter of a lot of what's happening. It's sort of very hard to escape it. There's a lot of visuals, like I walk by the hospital, I see without getting morbid, I see the trucks and the refrigeration containers. And so I think it's sort of percolating, and it's today, I think with the computer crash, it just sort of took the last bit of rug I had left. So it was very interesting to feel that kind of kind of desperation. And so I think it would be great that I can even just capture those dreams, because it's almost like I'm watching Netflix, you know, binge watching at night. I don't watch Netflix, but I just have these dreams, and they're just amazing. So thanks for doing this. And I do agree. I do one thing, which is the practice of gratitude. The gratitude list can shift my mind and my state of viewing things in a heartbeat, particularly when you're struggling to find things to be grateful for. So that's just been a terrific practice, and committing it to pen and paper and writing out, I am grateful for each line, is very powerful. And I totally agree. This is great what you're doing, Kay, and I think it's great you're doing it, and doing it for the Knights of Malta.
And just one final thing, just tell people, just share about your walk that you have every day, where you go, very briefly, you know, and what you see, where you're walking every day.
Yes, well, I'm walking around, and obviously, like, you know, in all places you're all living, it's eerily quiet. Little bit of an uptick the last few days with more cars, but everybody's sort of scurrying around we have to wear masks, and it's mandatory. And people are, you know, giving each other wide berth. But if I do go north of here, just a few blocks, is one of the main hospitals dealing with the COVID-19 cases. And, you know, I have gone there sometimes when we've done the clap at 7 o'clock. And each time I'm just moved to tears. You see these people come out all in their blue, and they're just lapping up this response. You know, they're all in shell shock, and this is, you know, this is going to have an impact on everybody mentally moving forward. But so yeah, it's quite intense.
And you usually go, as I say, Anne's in New York, so she really is at the epicenter of, you know, a big deal. So I think there's great opportunities there, Anne. And I think it's you know, the other thing I would say, you know, getting your stuff down is a safety valve. You know, you know, I'm sitting here in, you know, the lap of luxury in Dublin, where we, you know, it's very quiet, and we're having beautiful weather, and I live in a nice part of the town, and, you know, like, I'm not, you know, really that stressed. So, but I have other issues. But you know, so when someone is there, and you're right in the middle of New York, and it's not easy, and, you know, it's your livelihood and everything, then I think, you know, it becomes more acute. So writing is important then. So you know, just stay with us, and you know, keep committing it to paper, and we'll chat about it next week, please, God.
Thank you so much. It's really helpful.
No problem.
Thanks.
How about Clodagh there? I see Clodagh is down there. If you want to unmute, Clodagh.
Hello.
Hi there.
Can you hear me? You can?
Yeah, you're a little bit quiet. Can you up a bit?
What about now?
Yes, that's better. That's better, yes. Joined us this week, and she's two of my colleagues have joined us, Clodagh and Sharon, and they're both very dear and fantastic writers. And so I'd really, you know, I'd appreciate, you know what you share as a young, you know, a highly proficient writer, and you know, just what you wanted to say, or what is there any particular direction you'd like to go with this sort of experimental writing?
Yeah, so just to kind of give a bit of background, I suppose, to myself, I've worked with Kevin for, God, it must be the past 4 years or more now at this stage. And, you know, Kevin has taught me everything I know really about writing now. And I think one of the observations that I've made from I caught up with his last week's session, and I noticed, even, it's interesting because a lot of the work that we do is kind of advertorial based. So we'd be writing features for big brands. It could be anything like Harvey Norman, or, you know, any brands like Specsavers. And I think in a way your own voice tends to get a little bit lost in that. So I just thought it was interesting when I sat down and actually picked up a notebook last week and just jotted down my own thoughts and how the week went. And, you know, it's been a long time since I've actually done that and tried to find my own personal voice again. And I think
And how did that feel, getting in touch with that?
I think it kind of, I suppose I've been experiencing a lot of different emotions every day during this lockdown. You have good days, you have bad days, and I think on the bad days, it has actually been some kind of release to just, you know, jot down how I'm feeling. And in a way, it's kind of, it just gets it out there, even though I'm not showing anyone this journal. It's just some kind of release, I think.
Would you recommend people, so what would you recommend then? Do you think you're going to stick with the journal?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, my journal at the moment, it's almost, I suppose, like a diary. I used to keep a diary when I was a young kid, and in a way it's almost like bringing me back to those days, but I'm planning on having kind of a mix. I'll jot down, you know, how I'm feeling on that day, and I'm also going to jot down 3 things that I'm grateful for that I've achieved, because I think in a way you feel that some days you're not doing much, and then other days you might be more productive. But I think if we can focus on the positives and, you know, what we have done, it could be something simple like I baked scones today, or, you know, I cleaned my room. Just those little things, I think, make you feel a little bit better that you actually have done something.
And just to remind people, a journal it's not a fancy word. You know, you can get a 50 pence notebook, or you can get a diary, you know, or you can get them online. The shops will be open in maybe a month's time, but you certainly can get, I'm sure if you go around your house, you'll find a notebook somewhere. And all you do is, you know, like I've got a fancy one, which I got from Etihad on one of my travel trips. So it was a freebie. It just puts the date at the top, and, you know, you fill it in. And it's a record. You can give it to your grandchildren. You can burn it. You can, you know, you can revise it in 6 weeks, 6 years. It's all there. So listen, Clodagh, thanks very much for that. And thanks for taking part. I see an old friend there, Jane. I don't know if you'd like to join us very briefly, Jane, from the UK. If you want to unmute and just give us...
Hi.
How are you doing?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm okay. I was thinking I wanted to do a satirical journal, really, about lockdown and my experiences of lockdown, like the nightmare of going shopping, you know, wearing my marigold gloves and buying my essential chocolate and alcohol. That was my idea, really. Yeah.
Okay, and what do you think that's how can you go about trying that in practical terms? I think the great thing we can do here is sort of, we have an idea, now we're going to actually practice it for the next few weeks, or for as long as you choose to practice it. But our goal is to say, at the end of our session together, if people want to stay the course, they will have, whether it's one well-written, you know, a good page of truth, or whatever. But do you think that's something that you will pursue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I like writing funny things, really, and as possible, really, in my life as well as my writing.
Okay. And is there okay, well listen, why don't we keep an eye on that, a watching brief, and see, and again, if you find there's any bumps in the road, this is the forum where we can sort of look at any bumps in the road and any observations, and it would be delightful to hear, you know, how that goes. Is there any other questions or anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I'm interested in listening to other people and generally joining in. Thank you for inviting me. Okay,
Gemma, it's great to see you again. Great to see you. Okay, how about Phil? Would you like to join us? Can you unmute and join it? Have you anything you'd like to share? I know we had a long chat during the week, and you were really fundamental in that whole thing that really came alive to me with the critic. So is there anything you'd like to say and share?
Yeah, it's I just find, you know, everybody who's spoken, I think I've learned something from them, you know, the different aspects of where I am. So I think we're all in this, in a very similar place. It strikes me, you know, and I've decided that the journal is definitely, you know, because I think all of it can go into the journal. Yeah, everything can go into the journal. I can be doing a dream, a memory, you know, maybe even, I might even try writing about the critic to see what it has to say for itself as I try this new thing.
Yes, and that was very helpful during the week. It was weird because on the first week I knew I was missing something when I was writing down the notes, and then it sort of burst through, and then we chatted. Phil's a very old. I'm going to do a course on that and writing after this one. So, and I hope Phil will be able to contribute to that because she's highly skilled in that area. So it's a sort of a psychological piece of, you know, a way of, you know, getting from the head brain to the body brain. And it's all science based. There's no touchy-feely stuff about this. It's fantastic. So what's your own way of dealing, you know, with the critic when it comes to trying something new, or have you, what's your own experience with that?
The thing is that I find if we're going to talk about the critic, we have to realize that it became part of us. This is my experience. It became part of me before I was able to discern.
Yeah.
And you know, it's so, you know, it can really sort of, I always give this example of it. You know, I go to a party and champagne and I'm drinking, and then I get giddy and I'm singing and dancing and laughing, having a wonderful time. And the next day the critic will say, "Oh my God, you really made a show of yourself last night." So that's one thing. So then I go to a party and I decide, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just going to sit down here quietly and talk to somebody, and, you know, and then the next day, well, my God, you know, you were a real wet blanket. You ruined the party for everybody, you know. So you can't win with that critical voice.
Yeah.
You can't win. But because it's so a part of you, it's like, you know, part of your shadow self. Yeah. And but once you know about it, and once, you know, and I think writing about it could really expand all of our awareness that we do have this continuous, you know, I think then I don't think it ever goes away. I just think you learn how to live with it nicely. Yes. And I liked the part you brought up earlier about maybe it's a part of you, a young part that needs to be reintegrated.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's the truth, isn't it? You know, what's the opposite? You've two choices: you integrate or you disintegrate. That's the opposite of integrate. And so that's going to be interesting. So you're going the journal route, and you are. Have you got a sort of a routine? And now we're going to talk about routine really next week. But you're happy that that the journal is where you're going to go and where you're going to put your energies on this journey together.
Yes, because I, you know, with the list earlier, I thought, oh, everything can go in the journal, you know, and a story might come. I really would like to write something about the art of listening.
Yes. Yeah.
and to get that body feel, and how do you tell that story about we do have this wonderful body brain?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And it'll be my first ever really effort at trying to write. I've never written. So,
but isn't that? How do you feel about that? That sounds very exciting to me, and terrifying.
Yeah, both. But you know, when we did the critic voice earlier on, you know, my one thing was really awful, and when I came back to see with my other hand, it said, to help myself.
Okay.
That's, I'm doing this to help myself.
You're doing this, what we're doing now?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, that's great.
That was amazing, because I wouldn't have thought of that consciously, but it kept bubbled, that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, Phil. I look forward to hearing that, and yeah, we'll check in during the week. Maura, you're new, and I love the colours that you're wearing there. Maybe you'd like to unmute yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've got so far. I know this is your first week, and we've never met, so we'll be interested to hear a little bit, as much as you feel comfortable sharing.
Okay, hi everybody. Yes, I just watched last week's session, so I haven't had much time to catch up in terms of journaling, but I have decided that my format will be a journal. I'm just back from a year traveling the world solo, so I feel like I have a lot to talk about. One of my aims, I guess, is I want to write a travel page, my own sort of online blog, and maybe get some work from it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Possibly. I've done writing courses in the past, and I've always toyed, like, it's always been a fantasy of mine to write a book ever since I was a small child. That was it. I had a vision, a desk overlooking the water. I was going to write a book, and I've still got the very same. It's just a great opportunity to prompt my writing again and improve my skills and be part of a little community that's going to encourage me along. So.
Great, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And when you went on your year's travel, what was one place that really stuck out for you?
Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why was that?
I found my home in Mexico.
Okay. You found your sort of spiritual home there.
My spiritual home, yeah.
Okay.
It's a very deeply spiritual place with so many ancient traditions and customs, and it's just a fascinating place to me. Somewhere I feel like I need to go back and spend a lot of time. So.
Oh, well, maybe we could aim to do something maybe as a travel memory for that as well.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Okay, Maura, well, welcome aboard and great to hear from you.
Thank you so much.
Sebastian, would you like to unmute yourself and just tell us a little bit and introduce yourself? Sebastian is a fellow thespian who's I've shared a lot of time with, a lot of stage work with, and he's really is a very creative person and a very great podcaster. But Sebastian, introduce yourself and tell me what you think you may, or what route you may go.
I think I'm definitely going to go with the journal, and I actually did it just 20 minutes before I came onto the Zoom meeting, just because you invited me 2 days ago or something like that. So, and you say I'm very creative, but my 20 minutes essentially just became a glorified to-do list of what I was going to do next, even though I don't quite know what to do next, because I've been working on this podcast series with a website called Head Stuff for probably about 3 years now. It finally got released, and in a way, looking back now, thankfully before the pandemic, before everything changed, because it was kind of a very eclectic sort of series that looked at all sorts of things, such as the future of sex and the future of arts, or what is it like to be the business of an artist. And so it's called Overinformed, and that actually I could even probably show you some extensive note-taking that I took in terms of actually forming and sculpting the shows together. And even actually there's actually a couple of on the Head Stuff website kind of articles, complimentary articles that either talk about specific aspects of each episode or are summarizing to sort of entice people into listening to the episodes. And so actually I'm going to have a series that's going to be coming up in the month of May. I have to send it to Head Stuff, which is actually a behind the podcast series, sort of like behind the music, just sort of outlining what the thinking was, what went wrong, what problems came up for each episode, because each episode was differently structured and had to be even thought like that. And then I suppose in the meantime, I've been working on started a post on Medium about this kind of a video game essay, sort of a cultural analysis piece. So the journal, I think, is definitely what I want to focus on, and possibly spin it off into different articles or ideas, because also I think, as probably a lot of us may be finding, is that, you know, you're at home, you're not really getting a lot of maybe stimulation, or you're having to really pull it out of you for something to think about or make an idea from. And I think kind of something like a journal is almost like having a conversation with yourself. And it was very much like what, it's just literally off camera, that's why I'm pointing at it, the having just it was a very direct kind of translation. There wasn't a lot of discovery yet, but maybe over time, as I start doing it, I'll find more things I didn't discover about myself. But it's definitely been a kind of a dump of what's just been rattling in my head over the past week or so.
Well, I think that's very true. And I think what's going to be great about doing, and this is particularly applies to experienced writers, because then what happens with experienced writers, in one sense, is almost easier if you're just starting stuff going on. You have different stuff going on, but it's not to do with writing. So I think what's really interesting about the expressive writing, and what I do every morning in the journal as a writer like yourself, a professional writer, is I just go into the baby sort of mind of doing a drawing and just looking at what I did yesterday, and really just trying to get out of here into the body brain, where you're going to be surprised. And I know, knowing you as well as I know you, that you will be surprised what comes, because then it will stop becoming work related, and you'll be surprised where it goes. And that's the joy of it, because suddenly you'll go, wow, that I had no idea that was knocking around. I had no idea. But what it needs is what I would, as a professional writer myself, what I would counsel would be, okay, so the 20 minutes every day is a chance for you to almost take those clothes off and place them aside, because they're going to come back on, because it's how you earn your living. So you're obviously going to put them back on, but you're going to get a relief from that. And for everybody listening, it's also a case of, I will be able to, doing that 20 minutes every day will allow you to go to a different place. And I think that's the joy. So I think you'll be surprised. Hopefully you'll be surprised by what comes.
Hopefully.
And we'll share resources as well as we go along over the weeks of what people are doing, and and sharing various places where you can go and check each other's work out as well.
Absolutely. Cool.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for coming on board.
No worries. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. I think Karen is our last person who hasn't had a chance to chat. Karen, if you would like to unmute yourself. We don't also know each other, so please, very welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself and where you would like to take this.
Well, I got by way of Emma. I'm her aunt. So it sounded interesting. And I thought, okay, I might have something to write about at some point in time. I've always thought about it, particularly in regard to family history, more than anything. I think in your discussions of journaling, I could really connect to that, because I did use it myself once before to get through a very difficult time. So it was very helpful. And the other thing that I really connected with, the gratitude concept, writing it down. It's something that I actually integrated into one of my health courses. I was a teacher for 30 years, but I integrated that into the curriculum, so the kids were required to do that every day.
Okay.
Pick one thing that you're grateful for, just one, and it's very, very helpful.
And what is helpful about doing that? What did you see happen with the kids by doing that one thing for a protracted period of time? I said, what was the benefit did you see?
For students, usually they would focus on, oh my God, everything's so difficult. And that was their focus. So the perspective was changed for them. They had to find something that was working that was positive for them. And I think it did make a difference for some of the students. You know, some of them would, as students go, you know, it's not going to be 100% in any case, but I think it was helpful for a lot of them. Just the change in perspective.
And tell us, where are you talking from now? Just give us a little description of where you live and what life's like for you.
North of San Francisco,
Okay.
so in California. Yeah.
Isn't this incredible that, well, you're very near Niall, actually. He's just down from Golden Gate Bridge there. But isn't it incredible? You know, there's one of the advantages, and, you know, I suppose this is something to be grateful for, is that, look, you know, Emma's in
Washington, yeah.
Washington. You are, Karen, you're in San Francisco, Anne's in New York. Maura, where are you in?
I'm in Dublin now.
Okay,
I'm in the Dublin Mountains. I got back 6 weeks ago, just before all this happened.
Okay.
So.
Dublin Mountains, Clodagh's in Offaly, I know that. Claire's in London, and Sebastian's in a lovely place in just outside of Dublin. In where is it exactly?
It's in Leixlip in Kildare.
Yeah, it's a very nice old, fantastic place. We did some filming down there. It's great. Okay, so Karen, so tell us about your daily life there, and what you'd like to express, to do over the next few weeks as we empowered to stay or attracted to stay.
I think daily life here is pretty kind of self-contained, as you may well imagine. California is still on shutdown. And over the next few weeks, what I'd like to do is get back into at least the journaling. Yes. See if I can get myself motivated by doing that to get started on writing something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, and have you anything that sort of struck you this evening as you heard people, or inspired you, or gave you a little sort of hint as to where to go or what to do?
I think, one of the first things you said, just do it. Sit down and do it.
Yeah.
It was probably, that's the way to go.
Yeah, that is the way to go, and it's you've beautifully, and I think that's a great way to sort of wrap up the evening, because we have gone over time, and it's great to have you. And I forgot to say that Phil lives in a very, very nice part of Dublin as well, Terranure. I was going to say something else beginning with T, but it escaped my lips. So yes, and Ben lives down in the country somewhere, which is very nice. You can come on and tell us where you live, Ben, if you so wish. Just so everybody's been fairly treated.
That's Waterford, Kev. You might have heard of it. I don't know.
Jane's gone, so we can't ask her where she is in the UK. But look, that's great. And I'm going to hand back. It's been fantastic speaking to you all. Welcome to particularly our newbies like Maura, Karen, and Seb, and I'll hand back to Emma now. And as Karen actually says, it really is about getting down to do it. But Emma, just you want to do the wrap for us?
Yeah, thanks so much, Kev, and thank you all for coming. It's so fun to hear everybody's different perspectives on, how this writing process is going. And I know that for me, I share a lot of the feelings that you are all having. So it's really cool to hear them through a different perspective. Just to give you a little heads up about, what's to come. This was week 3. This is week 2, excuse me. We're going on to week 3 next week, which is all about kind of devising your weekly schedule, creating the perfect den. Kev, I know you have some really powerful thoughts on this kind of point here.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really exciting because, I think what we're trying to do is get a new habit. The research on habits shows that it can take the minimum to get a new habit going is 66 days. And the maximum you may need is 250 odd days. So people vary, but to get a new habit does take a lot of time. like 60, 70, up to 100 days. So that tells you, what does that tell you? It tells you that, that's why diets work so well for commercial companies, because nobody can last the 60 days. They just can't hack it. Cigarette smoking, the same. So we've 6 weeks, 7 6 make 42. So we're not quite at the minimum, but we'll get you on the way. We'll definitely get you on the way, and we're creating a new habit. To create the new habit, you need a place. The den. My den as up to now has been cafes. I'm one of those writers that loves chaos. I just love going to a cafe and writing. I've had to discover this beautiful den. I'm going to show you more about my den, my writing den now, next week. And it's a place where you can start your ritual. It's a place where you can have a ritual, because writing is quite a sacred thing, without getting too airy-fairy. But very good for your mental health. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to find a space where you can do this hard work, which won't be that hard as long as you can sit for 20 minutes uninterrupted. Okay,
awesome. And then we're going to be looking at some of the pitfalls writers face, and looking at strategies to overcome them. So a really juicy week 3. And as always, if you want to catch up, all of these sessions are being recorded, and we'll post them up on our video YouTube channel, which the link is in the Facebook page. We have a lot to cover over the next 6 weeks. This information right here, just a week-by-week breakdown, will also be on that Facebook page as well. So if you wanted to check that out, that will be there with some other information. So thank you all so much for coming. As always, this is a gift to you. Kevin is donating his time to do all of this. So we don't, this is a free session. But if you do want to donate anything, that's your choice. All of it will go to the homeless in Dublin, Order of Malta, and the Knights Run. Thank you all so much for joining us again, and we can't wait to see you next week.
Yeah, really look forward to that, and I'll tic-tac with you during the week as well, and I'm really looking forward to the journey. What a great journey we're having. So lots of love.
Bye.